Today, we will discuss about the history, nature, and scope of cooperation. Long ago, man like the other species follows the laws of nature in order to survive. However, being more intelligent, he is more capable of devising ways of improving his life beyond mere animal existence. Man in all ages has manifested his resourcefulness in dealing with his problems and needs. When the climate is not suitable for his physical nature, he has learned to make clothing and build shelters to protect himself from the elements. When the food is raw, he has found means of making it edible. An anthropologist said, more important perhaps is the fact that man, albeit imperfect as yet, has learned to cooperate with others of his species. He always lives in groups and has often discovered that tasks beyond the power of a single individual are well within those of group working together. So let us move on. So, cooperative societies were created long before the advent of the fair trade movement to help workers improve their livelihoods and protect their interests. Cooperatives are organizations of people who have the same needs. Most scholars recognize the business of the Rochdale pioneers of England as the first cooperative. In 1844, this group of 28 men, weavers and skilled workers in other trades, formed a cooperative society. Next, in the nature of characteristic of cooperatives, we have 9 characteristics: the service-oriented, community-oriented, people-oriented, owned, managed, and patronized by members, business enterprises, develop best through self and mutual help, serve best when answered the real and felt needs of the members. Number 8, develop best from bottom to top. And number 9, enhance through a multi-sectoral approach. Let us define the nature and characteristic of cooperatives. Number 1, cooperatives are service-oriented. Cooperatives are organized to serve their members by providing goods and services at reasonable cost. Members contribute the capital of the cooperatives so that the goods and services can be appropriately provided through its business activities and not to maximize the profit of or dividends their capital's contributions will earn from the business. In servicing the members, don't act as a charitable organization. Members are aware that the benefits come from their contributions, patronage refund, and mutual efforts to help one another. The motto is, cooperatives are not for profits, and not for charity, but for service. Next, number 2, cooperatives are community-oriented. Cooperatives work for the welfare of their members by integrating themselves into the life of community in particular and the nation in general. Cooperatives enhance the people welfare through increased productivity both members and the communities where they are located. By the very nature of the concerns, cooperatives strengthen the economic are not merely economic instruments concerned with the dividends and related economic and financial returns. They are the mechanism of change for total human development of man as human being in all the economic, political, cultural, and spiritual aspects. It makes the people with sense of both individual and joint responsibility, so they may arise individually to a full personal life and collectively to a full social life. Number 4, cooperative are owned, managed, and patronized by the members. Cooperatives are member-owned, member-controlled, and member-used. Ownership is a very important factor in the success of any cooperatives. It is very important that members have full authority to manage and control their cooperatives. If a cooperative starts and operates solely from borrowed capital, it violates the principle of self-help and loses much of its autonomous character. Cooperatives must depend on the patronage of their members and not from non-members. However, in certain cases, a limited patronage by non-members may allowed mainly for reason of business viability and service to the community. Next, number 5, cooperative or business enterprises. Cooperatives engage in business with a social responsibility. They play a meaningful economic role in the community life by serving and performing as efficiently and responsibly as the other financial and business enterprises. Cooperatives have to generate surplus to be able to continually improve and expand its services. They have to be viable, creative, enterprising, and efficient to continually grow and serve the needs of the members. Increasing patronage cannot be maintained without good quality service, management, and the performance. The net surplus generated from the business operation are located to the members at the end of each year. 6. Cooperatives develop best through self-help and mutual help. Cooperatives is inspired by if you want something done, do it yourself. This philosophy is responsible for the success of many cooperatives all over the world, and it is the best alternative for the poor in any country to unite and help themselves out of their depressed condition. This is not to say that they should not be assisted, but assistance from outside, whether technical or financial, must not stifle but stimulate. Stimulate initiatives, self-help, and self-reliance. Next, number 7. Cooperative serves best when they answer the real felt needs of the members. We do expect the members to participate in the activities and to patronize the business if the services they do need and felt are served. It is important, therefore, that the proper approaches and techniques are employed to ensure that the needs of the members are identified and recognized before any cooperative is organized. Last two. Number 8. Cooperatives develop best from bottom to top. Organizationally, their development should be the primary level to the secondary, tertiary, and up to the apex. Geographically, they should develop from community to city, regional, and national, to international. The primary cooperatives are the foundation stones of the whole cooperative structure. Organizing the apex before the base is like building the roof of the house before foundation. Sooner or later, in such a case, the roof topples down because the foundation is weak and unable to support its load. Lastly, number 9. Development of cooperatives is enhanced through a
the most ancient man known to build a navy. He reigned over Crete in the island of the Aegean Sea, 3 generations before the Trojan War. He lived at Knossos for periods of 9 years, where he received instruction from Zeus in the legislation which he gave to the island. Minos was a mythical king in the island of Crete, the son of Zeus and Europa. He was famous for creating a successful code of law. In fact, it was so grand that after his death, Minos became one of the 3 judges of the dead in the underworld. During his rule, Crete became a noble superpower and had an excellent educational system.
Corporation during medieval times. Agriculture production stimulated the creation of markets. They had to produce more in order to acquire many of their own needs and comforts. Medieval goods. As early 300 BC, the Greek had firm association as known as eranoi, which had futures of guilds which were organized in Teutonic Europe between the 7th and 15th century. Each type of guilds performed specific functions, such as protecting the members from illness, arranging funerals, providing feasts, and helping thieves in distress.
Merchant guilds in the Middle Ages. The system of feudalism during the Middle Ages allowed the lords and owners of the land to tax the people and their trades. As trade increased in the Middle Ages, the tax became excessive. A single person had no chance of making any objection to the rate and amount of tax that the lord demanded. The idea of merchant guilds was born. A merchant guild was an association of traders. The merchant guild was able to negotiate with the lord, and the trade levy became regulated. The regulation agreed between the merchant guild and the lord resulted in a merchant guild charter. The merchant guild charter allowed the merchants to pay an annual payment or fixed sum to the lord who owned the land where the town was based. Rules of the merchant guild during the Middle Ages. The member of the merchant guilds became powerful. The merchant guilds controlled the way in which trade was conducted in the town. The merchant guilds applied rules to the way in which trade was conducted during the Middle Ages. These rules were included in the charter of the merchant guilds and included a ban on or fines imposed on any illicit trading by non-merchant guild members. Fines were imposed on any merchant guild members who violated the merchant guild's charter. Members of the merchant guilds were protected, and any merchant guild member who fell sick was cared for by the guild. Burials of guild members were arranged, and the merchant guilds undertook to care in any orphans. The member of merchant guilds also provided protection of their horses, wagons, and goods when moving about the land as traveling, because traveling during the Middle Ages was dangerous. Member of the merchant guilds in the Middle Ages. The leading member of the merchant guilds became very important members of the medieval town community of the Middle Ages. Leading merchant guilds member adopted the role of spokesperson for all of the members. The introduction of the merchant guilds in a town or city led to its own hierarchy and involvement in civic duties. First, the chief spokesman of a merchant guild became the mayor of the town or city. The leading delegates of the merchant guilds became the aldermen of the town or city. The other men of the merchant guilds became the burghers or the town of city. The power of the merchant guilds members increased to such an extent that the livelihood of individual trades or crafts within a medieval town or city were being jeopardized. The merchant guilds were imposing regulation on the individual traders or craftsmen to regulate prices and supply. The individual workers of trade or crafts followed the example of the merchant guilds who had objected to the lord of land, and in turn it raised objection to the merchant guilds. The individual crafts and trades established their own guilds. The craft guilds were then established in the medieval town or city of the Middle Ages. Craft guilds in the Middle Ages. The craft guilds were formed in a similar way to the merchant guilds. A group of tradesmen or craftsmen engaged in the same occupation joined together. There were craft guilds where every trade or craft performed within a medieval city or town. These trades or crafts included masons, carpenters, painters, cloth makers, tanners, bakers, shoemakers or cobblers, apothecaries, candle makers. Rules of the craft guilds during the Middle Ages. The craft guilds applied rules to the way in which trade was conducted during the Middle Age. These rules were included in the charter of the crafts guild are included. It is the same with the merchant guild. A ban on or fine imposed on illicit trading by non-craft guild members. Fines were imposed on any craft guilds member who violated the charter of their particular craft guilds. Members of the craft guilds were protected and any member who fell sick was cared for the guild. Burials or guild members were arranged in a craft guilds undertook the care of any orphans. The members of craft guilds also provide protection of their horses, wagons, and goods when moving about the land is traveling because traveling during the Middle Ages was dangerous. The craft guilds ensured that the craft or trade effectively became a closed shop or monopoly, preventing an outside competition. Prices were fixed between members of the craft guilds, and the craft guilds ensured that high standards of quality were maintained. The number of craft guilds members were also regulating, allowing a restricted membership in order to ensure that the number of craft guilds did not exceed the business requirement. As time went by, the craft guilds became as important in the medieval towns and cities as the merchant guilds, as the member of the craft guilds demanded that they also shared in civic duties and leadership. To become a member of craft guilds in the Middle Ages, a man would have to work through 3 phases to become a member of medieval craft guild during the Middle Ages. One is to become an apprentice. A craft guild's apprentice was sent to work for a master. During his early teens, the craft guild apprentice lasted between 5 and 9 years depending on the trade. And training. An apprentice was not allowed to marry until he reached the status of a journeyman. A craft guild journeyman was paid for his labor. During this time, the journeyman would create his masterpiece in his own time, which he would present to the craft guild as evidence of his craftsmanship in the hope of being accepted as a craft guild master. It was difficult to reach the status of master and much depended on the journeyman's standing and acceptance by the top member of the craft guild. And last, the master. A craft guild master could set up his own workshop and then train his own apprentice. Thank you.